Hello and welcome to the Spirit Safe. My name's Rob. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Now, what I've got this time is something from a very unusual country. I think we've done something from Poland earlier in the year. How about Lebanon? A lot of people wouldn't think that alcohol would be even available in Lebanon. They might assume that it's an Islamic country and that alcohol is forbidden. But Lebanon has a large Christian population. It's not an Islamic country, and alcohol is freely available. There are one or two distilleries in Lebanon, and one of them is the Levant Highlands. Whether it's the distillery or not, it's made by Riaki Wines and Spirits. This is the Levant Highlands Espresso Roast Dark Malt Lebanese whiskey. So it's unusual not just because it is from Lebanon, but it also because of the roast on the malt. I recently reviewed Glenmorangie Signet, and that's another one that uses a very high grade roast. And I said when I reviewed that, which was a very good whiskey by the way, but very expensive, that it's unusual. It's strange that lots of distilleries aren't doing this, because when making beer, the grade that the malt is roasted to really does change the flavour. And you start with a kind of beer and you turn that into whiskey. So the Lebanese are ahead of the other countries in doing this roast. And actually, the espresso roast is higher than the stout or porter roast, I believe, the chocolate malt. So this is going even higher. And my understanding is that it kind of gets harder to work with the malt when it's roasted to that extent. I'm not certain. I haven't researched it as much as I should have done, but my feeling is that changes the composition of the malt and makes it a bit harder to work with. So Riaki have given themselves a big challenge in using an espresso malt, the highest you can roast it without burning it, basically. So this is bottled at 43% ABV. It says it's non-coloured, and then it's all virgin oak matured. The carton that it comes in is actually like brown cardboard box, like Amazon purchase cardboard box, rather than a carton like the majority of whiskies come in. But it's quite attractively done on the outside, and then on the inside you see it's the brown cardboard like the regular cardboard box. What was it saying? It's a reasonably dark colour. Label, bottle and label quite attractive as well. Artificial cork. And what did I pay for this? I didn't pay anything. This, like very few of the whiskies that featured on the channel, was a gift from somebody who goes to Lebanon regularly, and I asked him if he would pick up a bottle from Levant Highlands, and he very kindly agreed. So I was very lucky to be able to get a bottle of this. I think it's available in a few stores in Germany or elsewhere, but really it's not travelled far outside Lebanon. Very, very unusual on the nose. I do pick up chocolate and coffee and a few herbal things, but it's really very strange. And I don't... spoiler alert, I don't get along with this very well at all. There is an overwhelming aniseed or fennel that I just find overwhelming and intrusive. A kind of oniony. No. There is chocolate mint, particularly dark chocolate mint after 8, but it's a little bit high. It's a little bit slightly rancid. Chocolate that is kept for too long, it goes kind of powdery on the outside. And then quite a nice milk chocolate note, but really the offish chocolate mint I find quite awkward. There is a wet cardboard. A pleasant chocolate lavender. I did have a chocolate bar that had lavender in it, and I do pick that up, and it's it's quite pleasant on the nose. Mint arrow, but one that's been in your pocket, in a jacket pocket for quite a while. Acetone kind of glue note, maybe some rubbing alcohol. I kind of mint tea, but it's sort of a chemical edge to it. A peppermint oil, dandelion sort of herbaceousness. There's an unpleasant soapiness to it, a sweatiness. And throughout this, I'm getting the impression of a grain that's been washed through, so almost like it's spent. So it's lost its bounce, and there's a kind of grassiness, but it's just not got that lift. And this is very unfortunate, a sort of cod liver oil, a little bit of fishiness. But it's not cod liver oil from the bottle. When I was young, my parents bought cod liver oil, and it came in those capsules, and I occasionally used to get a whiff in the cupboard of the gelatin capsules with that very slight fishiness. So it's not like sniffing cod liver oil, but that gelatin capsule with the cod liver oil. The palate, there is a fennel, there is an aniseed that at first I found quite objectionable, but I think it might be opening up a little bit actually. A lot of chocolate, that's kind of prickly aniseed. As it moves into the finish, it is quite off. A lot of chocolatiness, a little bit of malt extract, but bitter maltiness. In some ways it can be prickly, but in other ways flat and watery. And there's a kind of peppery heat and bitterness. Later it does open up to a kind of sweet milkiness, maybe tiramisu, maybe egg custard tart, and espresso. Porter, but again on the nose, picking up the cod liver oil again, all fish skins. So let's give it a drop of water, see what that does for it. More wood shavings. A burnt porridge, burnt oats. Again, the mint arrow chocolate, but it's got a staleness and mildewiness to it that isn't very pleasant. At moments, it has a cooling mint that's nice, a mint tea or orange oil. But yeah, the stout beer, the porter, the brewer's yeast is starting to come through in a little bit. Kind of a weird penicillin, like a dry powdery note that you pick up from, used to get from penicillin, like paracetamol tablets in the bottle. Alright, it is a little bit fishy. But it's trying, you know. Palate with some water, much more milky, more Ovaltine, malt extract, bitter chocolate after 8. You know, it's lost a bit of its bite, but there's that little bit of rum and raisin or creaminess to it now. It's just that awkward fishiness that really spoils it. The finish, bitter chocolate, a little bit off, a little bit burnt plastic, pepper, something milky, malt extract, Ovaltine, spice rum. In all, I'm not in love with this. I'm glad that Riaki did it. I think it's noble of them to try. I think they had a really tall order, a small distillery working with that. A craft distillery working with that very heavy roast. It's always going to be difficult. I think what I'm finding quite hard about this is that it feels quite washed out, and so it has awkward flavors, and it also throughout is kind of washed out and wet cardboard. So it lacks really a bounce. You know, whiskies, for me, malts are supposed to have that cereal bounciness, that mouthfeel, a bit of cereal complexity, a bit of syrupy quality, a decent mouthfeel, and it just doesn't have that joy for me. So this, I'm finding it hard to palate, finding it really hard to enjoy. Maybe something went wrong with this particular batch. I'm sure this is an awkward expression, and other things from Riaki are probably pretty good. I wouldn't judge the distillery by this very strange expression at all. Encourage people to try other things from Riaki, and I would have no hesitation in doing so. I've enjoyed this more if I've primed my palate with something like a rye whiskey first. I think going in as the first drink of the evening, it can be really sit quite awkwardly. But I salute them for trying, and I don't want to offend the people who are making this. I think they're trying more than than some of the pedestrian producers in Scotland and elsewhere. Anyway, anyone who's tried this, I'd really love to know what you thought of it. It's probably a difficult one to get hold on, but if anyone out there has tried it, I'd be really keen to know your thoughts. And hopefully I'm wrong, and it's a very good expression. I'm just sensitive to something in it. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed the review, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers. Goodbye.